Every story starts somewhere in the middle. This one starts at mile 0. 9 weeks from now, it ends somewhere past mile 155, deep in the mountains above Flagstaff, Arizona. I'm Paul Johnson. I just finished week 6 of training for the Cocodona 250, a brutally long trail ultramarathon across Arizona. It starts near Black Canyon City, just north of Phoenix, and finishes in Flagstaff, linking iconic trails, ranch lands, and Arizona wilderness. It is one of the toughest foot races in the United States. 9 weeks out. The clock is running. This is the work. Week 6 was the first week of what coaches call base building. The idea is simple. You build an aerobic foundation big enough to support the harder work that comes later. You don't push, you accumulate. Here is what the week looked like. For distance, I ran 114.84 kilometers. My goal was 116. I came up short by 1.2 kilometers. That's less than a mile. In the context of a 250-mile race, that is a rounding error. I will take it. For vertical gain, I climbed 1,889 meters. My goal was 1,800. I exceeded it by 89 meters. The mountains gave me a little extra, and I didn't say no. I track all of this with my Coros Vertex watch, which syncs automatically with the Strava app. If you run, you probably know Strava. If you want to follow along, search for Paul James Johnson, based in Detroit, Michigan. One more thing before I move on. A word about kilometers. I know I'm losing some of you. You're American. You grew up measuring distance in miles. So did I. But years ago, I switched to kilometers for running, and I haven't gone back. The math is cleaner, but the real reason is psychological. A kilometer asks less of you than a mile. You move forward more often. The work feels manageable. You don't stare down long stretches. You just knock off small, repeatable units. Progress comes faster when the distance feels negotiable. Each kilometer is a quiet win. 6 days, 1 rest. Let's go through them. Monday, Lake Pleasant Regional Park. I laced up the Hoka Mach 6 and headed out for 17 kilometers and out and back, 371 meters of climbing. Right from the start, I had company, 3 adult cattle, 3 calves. They were on the trail, barbed wire on both sides, and they had absolutely nowhere to go. So they ran in front of me for a full kilometer. A man chasing cows at dawn in the desert. That is my training. Eventually the wire opened up and they moved off the trail. I moved on. At about kilometer 7, 2 wild burros, completely unbothered. These animals are well known at Lake Pleasant. People stopped to feed them. They grazed along the trail as if I weren't there. I didn't stop either. The lake itself was visibly low. Sections that normally hold water were dry. The West is a thirsty place right now. That evening, 2 hours of pickleball. Tuesday, the Maricopa Trail. I wore the Norda 001 for a flat 16.3 kilometer out and back, about as routine as a training run gets, until it wasn't. Early on, a cyclist flagged me down. "Coyote ahead," he said. I thanked him and kept going. I've seen plenty of coyotes on this trail. They don't want anything to do with me. They disappear into the brush, and that's the end of it. Then I saw a coyote moving fast, looking over its shoulder, clearly being chased. I thought that was odd because I didn't see anyone behind it. Then I heard it. A large white shepherd charging toward me from the side, barking hard. I stopped, turned to face it. It came within a couple of feet and stopped, too, still barking. In the distance, an SUV pulled up on a gravel access road. Driver had his window down, whistling. After a couple of minutes, the dog broke off and moved toward the truck. The driver got out, walked over to me, and apologized. He and his dog, he explained, had been chasing the coyote for sport. I said, okay. He went back to his truck. I've been attacked and bitten by dogs while running more than once. Never by a coyote, not even close. This day was a reminder that I need to carry pepper spray. I recently picked up a compact unit from Guard Dog Security, bought it at Costco in Arizona. I'll have it with me from now on. I love dogs. I genuinely do not want to use it, but I will carry it. That evening, 2 hours of pickleball at the Trilogy Pickleball Club, round-robin format. Wednesday, Paloma Community Park. The Nike Zoom X Zagama, 10 kilometers, about 200 meters of climbing, a light day by design, a recovery loop through a beautiful park. That afternoon, I competed in the Arizona Pickleball Players League, 2 hours. Thursday, White Tank Regional Park. This was the big day. Hoka Tecton X, a Usui running vest, 3 liters of water, plenty of calories, electrolyte capsules. The forecast was 90 degrees. I would be in the mountains during the hottest part of the day. I knew that going in. I went anyway. 30.5 kilometers, 1,224 meters of vertical. Last week I climbed to the highest point of the White Tank Mountains, Barry Goldwater Peak. This week, the second highest, Twin Peaks. I started at 65 degrees. By mid-afternoon, it was 90. The route was completely exposed, no shade. That wasn't a problem. That was the point. Heat adaptation training. I used a simple cooling system, a 1/4 liter of water in a Ziploc bag, a cotton buff soaked through and wrapped around my neck. Any breeze creates evaporative cooling. When it dries out, you re-wet it. Repeat as needed. I used this at the Arizona Monster 300. It worked. It will work at Cocodona. And then the screw. Around kilometer 2, I crossed a park road and felt something on the bottom of my shoe. Nothing seemed to affect me, so I kept moving. 16 kilometers later, on the descent from Twin Peaks, I felt a sharp object in my forefoot. I stopped, took my shoe off. There was a screw embedded in the sole of my shoe. Somehow, for 16 kilometers, it had landed perfectly between my toes and never touched skin. I pulled it out. I kept going. Friday, back on the Maricopa Trail, Hoka Mach 6, a recovery run after Thursday's effort, uneventful, which is exactly what I needed. 2 hours of pickleball afterward in 90-degree heat, which qualified as additional heat training. I will take every edge I can get. Saturday, running the streets to ISI. I ran the streets to Iron Sharpens Iron. The name comes from Proverbs 27:17. As iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. ISI Phoenix exists to encourage and empower men to be excellent, so no man walks alone. They post a video every Saturday on YouTube. Worth checking out. End of the week. 6 days of work, 1 day of rest. The body feels strong. I slept 8 to 9 hours each night and usually grabbed a short nap in the early afternoon. If I stay with this plan, if I do the work week by week, I will be ready for Cocodona. This week, the running world lost Jeff Galloway. He was 80 years old. He died on February 25, 2026, in Pensacola, Florida, from complications following a hemorrhagic stroke. Galloway was an Olympian, a coach, and the pioneer of what he called the run, walk, run method, a simple, counterintuitive philosophy that reshaped how millions of people approach training and racing. In the days after his death, runners around the world shared stories of how his method helped them start running, keep running, and come back to running after injury or burnout. Galloway didn't just teach a technique. He lowered the barrier to entry. He made endurance running more humane, more sustainable, and more accessible, especially for everyday runners. I am one of those runners. His influence on me began by accident. At the Chicago Marathon in 1997, the race offered official pacing groups. I joined the 3-hour and 30-minute group without knowing who was leading it. Around mile 3, our pacers suddenly stopped running and shifted into a brisk walk. The group looked around in confusion. He explained calmly and without fanfare that this was intentional. The run-walk method, he said, conserves energy and helps runners finish stronger. I adopted it that day. Nearly 3 decades later, I still use it. In 2016, I crossed paths with Galloway again at Grandma's Marathon in Duluth, Minnesota. He gave a pre-race talk on the legitimacy of run-walk, not as a fallback, but as a disciplined and intelligent approach to endurance. By then, I didn't need convincing. I already was living proof. His influence didn't end with his death. It continues every time someone chooses patience over ego and keeps moving forward. 9 weeks from now, I start the Cocodona 250. Let me tell you about 2 films. The first is called The Chase. It was produced by Aravipa Running and made by filmmaker Dylan Harris. It follows 5 elite athletes at the 2024 Cocodona 250, chasing a course record. It captures competition, resilience, and the relentless nature of endurance racing. It has an unexpected ending. I won't say more. Watch it. The second film is brand new, also by Dylan Harris. It's called The Cutoff, and it was filmed at the 2025 Cocodona 250. Unlike The Chase, which followed elites, The Cutoff follows the underdogs, the runners fighting exhaustion, injury, and doubt as they race to each checkpoint before the clock runs out. Because in Cocodona, time is the most unforgiving opponent. The finish line is available to everyone, but only if you get there in time. The film is currently being shown in Arizona, Seattle, Denver, and Salt Lake City. It will be released to the public, free, on YouTube, before the 2026 race. I am very much looking forward to seeing it. Week 7. This is still base building, the work that makes everything else possible. The goal is 124 kilometers and 1,950 meters of vertical, a controlled, steady load. The week opens with 19 kilometers with climbing, then a 16-kilometer hill-focused run, then an 11-kilometer easy day to absorb it all. I'm making a structural shift this week, moving my back-to-back long runs to Thursday and Friday. A 35-kilometer run with around 1,200 meters of climbing immediately followed the next day by 24 kilometers and 750 meters of vert. Back-to-back long days build fatigue resistance, the ability to keep going when the body has already given a great deal. The week closes with a 19-kilometer moderate effort and a full rest day. Technical descent work is threaded throughout. Downhill durability matters in a race that asks you to descend as much as it asks you to climb. The emphasis is clear: aerobic endurance, vertical tolerance, and repeatability. That is what this phase is built to harden. Week 6 is done. 9 weeks to go. Thanks for being here. If you want to follow along on Strava, Instagram, or Facebook, find me as Paul James Johnson. Subscribe to the channel. Come back next week. The work continues.